Do you think Bitcoin and Ethereum are out of the woods right now, or is it still in danger? Look how crazy this situation is. Look at this, right? It's basically just bouncing around inside the triangle right here. Basically, this is the weekly chart we're talking about, right? So it wicked through to fake you out and then closed just above, right? This key supporting trend line, right? And now basically, look at this. This is crazy, right? We're only had like 1 day of action in this new week. It's basically sitting on this bottom of the trend line, bouncing off the top of the trend line, like deciding which way do I go? Which way do I go? Up or down? Up or down? It's a crazy situation, right? Crazy situation. That's a weekly chart. Today I'm gonna take you to, in order to find out which way it's gonna go, we're gonna go and look at a number of charts from on-chain. The on-chain evidence. What are the whales doing? What are the retail buyers doing? Are they panicking? Are they buying? Are they selling? And a number of stats. This is not an episode you want to miss if you want to see where Bitcoin and Ethereum are going. Look at this. Like, how many times has I flirted with this? This is what we call a fake out or a invalidation. So basically, what happens here is, see how this looks really deliberate, because they basically took everything down on a massive drop, held it there for like 1 close, 2 close, 3 closes below the trend line, 3 closes below the trend line, right? When they know that most people only have like a 2-day close rule. If you close 2 days below, right, a max 3 days closed, then you got to sell. And then on the 4th day, just before, I remember this was just before the Sunday close, they ripped it back up and closed it just above the trend line. And look, they do it again back here, right? They do it again back here. Massive drop. These are big drops, like 4% drops in 1 day in Bitcoin. Freak everyone out and close on the trend line, wick through the trend line, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and then bounce, right? Here, we're still about 3-4 hours away from the close today, right? But basically, it looks like we're going to close above around this 114, 113.5 area, and they've just taken it right outside of the below the support, hanging there, and people were panicking and selling, and then they rip it back up. So now here, obviously, the key levels to watch are this. First of all, breaking this diagonal pressure line, resistance line will be important. This would be around, let's call it 115K area, but really immediately then you have 116K. 116K we've spoken for a long time already, for the last like 2 months, because we've had these pivot bottoms, pivot bottom, pivot bottom, pivot bottom. These kind of tops got there as well. This pivot top, number of pivot tops, right? And now if we get there, let's see if we can actually pump through or get rejected here. For the lows, you can't discount that it bounces around in here, makes its decision and go down. That could easily happen. And then it's this 107K area, 107. And it's patently obvious why 107 is important. I've shown you guys this level a number of times before, right? Because that was actually kind of the top, 108, 109, back in December and January earlier this year. So very important levels. And what about Ethereum? Let's have a look at Ethereum. So Ethereum was always in a stronger situation. It was basically, see how it never actually dipped below the support level. It was always staying above the support level, right? And then it closed on the weekend, on Sunday, above this key 40-60 level. 40-60 level is important, and that's pretty obvious because we have at this bottom, these bottoms, we wick down. Once again, spend 1, 2, 3 days below, and then we rip it back up. But keep in mind with Ethereum, it looks stronger than the Bitcoin chart because this rising trend line was never broken. This was never broken. And I'm going to show you guys a bunch of charts, right, of what is happening basically. What are the signals that we're getting from the on-chain stats? But before we do that, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo Jimenez use? Well, Pablo uses exchange that's non-KYC. That means you don't need to show any ID. That means even the exchange can't see who you are, right? So, which means basically the IRS can't see you, tax office can't see you, FBI, CIA, nobody can see you, right? Because even the exchange can't see who you are. That's why Pablo made this deal with them. Trade to win with the Pablo exclusive prize pool, up to 120,000 US dollars just on this Pablo link that I have right now. Okay, so, and get 20% bonus just by depositing. Deposit $100, get 20 US dollars. Deposit $500, get 100 US dollars. Deposit $1,000, get 200 US dollars. You get the idea. But limited time only, folks. This deal finishes on October 16th. October 16th. And just by being in the top 30 in terms of trading volume, you get to win a prize. You get to win a prize with Bitunix. That's the exchange I'm making the deal with. So, for my followers, if you're watching on YouTube right now, then the link is in the description below. The link is in the description below. But if you're watching on any other platform, such as this one, then that's okay. Click on the profile page, and there is my link tree or stand link. And it should be the first deal that pops up because this is a great deal. And let's get back to the markets, folks. But there it is. We can see there it is. Let's get back to the markets. And remember, folks, this deal is only available on the Pablo Jimenez link. It's only exclusive to the Pablo Jimenez link. Okay, so with ETH, we can see that on the weekly here, it would have been great if it closed around this 43.60 area, right? Then we could call it a bottoming tail, and we'd be confident it's coming out. But still, no, it doesn't do that. It's basically closes halfway up the candle. So then, a chance of breakdown or a breakup are equally likely. However, I've been saying that I haven't been bearish. I've been saying that, look, this is a bull flag because we've had the flagpole and the flag itself inside this yellow area, and basically we could be breaking out, even though we could break down first and then break up. To help us understand those odds better, let's have a look at what on-chain stats are telling us right now. This is the Fear and Greed Index. We all know about it. But this is the Crypto Fear and Greed Index expressed on a chart, right? On a timeline. So basically now every time when we go into extreme fear, or extreme greed, when we go into extreme fear, it's basically in the red here. That's when we reach extreme fear. In fact, this was the COVID crash. We were in extreme fear for something like 3 weeks, right? And it picked exact bottom. Extreme greed is marked in green. This one was like, this whole time was like extreme greed, extreme greed, extreme greed. But this green signal worked out really well. That kind of timed the top at 60K, 64K-ish area. And look, this one kind of, this one actually worked out really well as well, around 30K, right? Around 30K. Bitcoin then bounced to 69K. This one timed, extreme fear timed this bounce. And this extreme fear got us kind of close. It was around 18K. And then the FTX crash happened. And then that was the Bitcoin bottom. So all this time, we've only had like 3 real signals. One is this green here, extreme greed, which was around just before, right, Bitcoin hitting 74K here. It hit around like 65K, so it was kind of on track for, this signal here, right, this was before Bitcoin hit 108, 109K, so it came early. This signal worked out well. This was around this year when the Trump tariffs hit. It was around March, so it was like a month early around here before the eventual bottom in Bitcoin, April 7th. So it was about a month earlier. So here, what I want to say is that we haven't reached extreme fear just yet. So there's not enough panic in the markets just yet for us to say, yeah, we've nailed the bottom. So let's have I'm going to show you 4 or 5 of these indicators and on-chain data. So then we can make up our own minds. Why am I showing you guys this? Because we've spoken about this quite a long time ago. Like, do we think the Bitcoin market has topped? This is the bull market, peak indicators. If bull market has peaked or not, the peak indicators, and there's like 30 of these, right? And as I said, a lot of them, I've been talking about this for a while now, are quite famous, like the Pi Cycle Top, Pure, Multiple, Bitcoin Rainbow Chart, right? So MVRV, right? RSI, Altcoin Season Index, we got a lot of these, and none of them are triggered so far. Except Altcoin Season Index is very close to triggering, and it was in red territory like 2 weeks ago. So what is one that we should look at today, for example? Well, here is the Bitcoin SOPR ratio. What does SOPR ratio stand for? It stands for Spend Output Profit Ratio. So basically, Spend Output Profit Ratio is the profit level of all the coins that are being moved. And the assumption is that if it's been moved on chain, then it's been sold. I understand sometimes people just shuffling them between wallets, but it's just a basic assumption that whenever they see Bitcoins being moved, then it is someone selling. And therefore, they want to know, did it move at a profit or did it move at a loss? Because compared to the last time it moved, assuming last time was a transaction as well, then you could tell, are prices higher or lower than the last time these Bitcoins were moved? And that's what the SOPR Spend Output Profit Ratio is. So if we look at the historical long term for the last 9 years, basically see how when it went deeply red, that time the bottom of 2018 Bitcoin cycle, and again, it came early around, turned green, very green around, what's this period? This is around Jan and Feb 2021, and that was too early. That was too early, so it's a false signal. But however, look, this went very red. This picked kind of the bottom when Bitcoin's around 35,000 K, and then went to 69K. And here, when massively red, once again, picked the bottom here, massively red, picked the bottom here, which was the COVID crash in March. So far, it picked a couple of the tops really well. Like, see, for example, this one, which was May 31st, that was kind of a nice pick for the top, right? Went red when it was around in late August, July, and August. And that was the bottom. Bitcoin ran up, right? Once again, I mean, it's a number of false signals here, but it went very red again in April 7th, we can see here, and then Bitcoin ran up, right? So basically worked again for a bottoming signal. And now look, we must say this big green signal was also showing, the top, and now we're pulling back. Haven't really gone red except this one day here. We haven't really gone red much yet. So again, just like the fear and greed index, it's gone down, but it's not at an extreme signal just yet. Let's have a look at it. That was like the 10-year. That was like the 10-year signal. Now how about we have a look at a 2-year chart. This is actually like an 18-month chart, right? To see if we can spot any more signals if we're looking at it in closer detail. So here we can see that basically, let me move it so folks can see it better. So here we can see that when it is down here in this boxed red zone, then basically shows that SOPR ratio is very low, and that means people were selling at a loss. That usually marks the bottom. This was the September bottom I was talking about of 2024, when Bitcoin was around 152K or so, and it ran up to 108, 109K. It was a 100% run. So here, once again, we've spoken about this, how it tended to call that 108, 109K top. And now, okay, had a big spike up in July, around 111K. It didn't quite give us the target, the top at 123K. And now we're down again. So rather than looking on the 9-year chart, this is say from 2016 to 2025. This is 9 years chart. This is a big chart. If we look at the small chart, if we look at the small chart, which is here, if we look at the small chart, which is on the 18-month chart, we can see that right now we are in as an oversold territory. People are selling at a loss as much as September, October last year. And that's before Bitcoin went on this massive run to 108, 109K from the 50K area, right? So that's given us more confidence if we look at it on a smaller scale that Bitcoin could be, right, near bottom here. It doesn't mean it's the exact bottom. It can still wick down to 109, 107K even, right? But it gives us confidence that at least we're not in a very, bubble situation. That's one chart. Here's another chart that might change your opinion. So here, this is the price and open interest change. I've shown this chart a number of times. Basically, the higher the open interest, that means the more futures contracts are being traded, and usually that means the market is just in a sort of I don't want to say bubble because it's short term, but it's in a market's in a hype, in an exuberant situation. So, for example, we see here, right, these salmon, or if you want to call it pink, parts of the chart, they're showing open interest, where how much futures exchange contracts being traded. When it spiked here, right, this was on September 19th, actually timed the top. See how we had red dots here, right? Okay, so that told us that was the top in the short term. And when it spiked down here, it produced a number of green dots, right? Green dots. And that showed us this was kind of a bottom to buy. Even though it wasn't the exact bottom, but it was kind of a nice place to buy, right? And here, when it spiked down, showing that there's a huge reduction in open interest, what number of futures contracts, people got wiped out. So these green signals came fairly close to the bottom. And now, look at this. This chart is only like 7 or 8 hours old, right? I mean, on something that's 2 months or 60 days chart, this is only like a few hours old, so that's pretty good, reliable. We've had a spike up in number of future contracts or open interest being traded, and we've had one red signal. Remember, when it comes, there's like a cluster of these signals. So far, we've had one or two of these red signals, and so chances are it could go higher before it turns down again, right? So we just need to monitor this situation very closely. No signal is 100% accurate, especially if it is only one single pin rather than getting like 7 or 8, 9, 10 pins in a row here. So that's something we need to watch. That's signaling this could be a local top and we turn down again. Doesn't mean we crash to 91K or anything. Okay, what's another signal or chart? Here is the retail investors. Okay, retail investors basically, as we know, there's the least confident folks who don't hodl and who sell at the first sign of panic. When they're selling, white is the price of Bitcoin. When retails are selling, it's basically in panic red. And here we can see in 2024 May, around August, when retail was panicking, that was time to buy Bitcoin. Then went on a 100x run. And when retail was buying a lot, when it goes green, right, that's when Bitcoin topped around 108, 109K, right? It was slightly early and boom, it goes down. This didn't quite work. They were selling quite a lot, but Bitcoin was still at the top here. This was kind of okay, retail was panicking and selling, right, in mid-April, and that's when the Trump trade war bottom came and started running up. They got extremely confident again around this 123K area, and that's when Bitcoin started going down again. And now we're in this red territory where market is panicking. So it's a kind of a good sign. It's not like an extreme panic that tells you this is definitely a buy dip situation, but there are some levels of panic here. So as I've shown you guys, like if we judge by the fear and panic index, we judge by this index of retail investors, there are signs of stress from the retail, signs of panic, but it's not extreme yet. So I'm not prepared to call this is definitely the bottom yet. I remain positive. In that I think we still have another leg up, but that's saying the next 5 to 10 weeks we have another leg up. But in the next 1 week or even 2 weeks, do we have a small leg down to 107K or even 100K? I can't rule that out, that probability yet, because as I've shown you guys, all these charts, sentiment charts, on-chain charts I've shown you guys, nothing is definite yet. So I remain bullish, but in the short term, we could have a fake out and a pullback. 97K would be a very strong support area. Anyways, I'll keep you guys updated. Catch you next episode.